Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great most honorable well. And shalom to the brothers doing the work, spirit and truth. Yeah, got this article on study finds, and I saw it. I was just like, I kind of laughed because it essentially confirms that you know a lot of what was being said about the Max. Um, you know, it confirms a lot of that. What with the gene altering properties, which that's um that's what. Well, okay, let me read it. So it says C19 alters human genes, explaining mystery behind C long haulers. So it says for some C19 patients, getting over their infection is just the beginning of the recovery. Over the last year, C long haulers have continued experiencing a variety of symptoms months after the virus clears. This includes anything from skin problems to shortness of breath to losing sense of taste or smell. Now, researchers say they may know why this is happening. A new study finds C actually causes long-term changes to an infected patient's genes. Oh, interesting. And this is something that I don't think is news to, to the elites, to the powers that be, to CDC and whatnot. Because these things have been researched previously, and as well, it's like this kind of information. They'll have research and work these things out. So that's why it's like, as far as like the origin of where this thing came from, that they were talking about certain labs, and it's being researched at the same time, and now you find out these properties of it, all its genes, and then you hear like what has been said about the Max, how it's essentially been looked at as like a thing to what, to alter certain things, and I was just like, hey, it links up. It's from Esau's the one pushing it out. It's from the research was done by one of these people that's in the system doing their studies or whatever, and kind of exposing these factors. So then that makes you think like, oh, so this is the nature of what's being dealt with. Then how much more so the Max. But then it really lets you know it's like, this is why you can't just listen to anything that he says, man. Because the way he'll push it out is like, oh, it's just da da da. He'll say one thing, and then it's only later on down the line when sometimes, like, not even, won't even be mentioned, but later on down the line, it's like if it gets exposed or whatnot, then they'll say, oh yeah, but blah blah blah, it's a small chance. And yeah, funny as hell. Okay, let me read this then. Sirach 12 and 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place, neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Yeah. Ooh. So yeah, essentially just never trust thine enemy. and that really applies for E. Because that's the thing. It's like with these things, Esau's he's got a history of how he's pushed these things out, experimenting with these things. So for you to just be going in and listen to what he's saying, that shows that it's really the Jake. They have faith in him and his system. And when the guy in a suit comes out and says, "Yeah, blah blah blah," these are the things people have faith in. It says what specifically scientists revealed the spike protein of the virus causing C19 creates long-lasting changes to human gene expression. These tiny spikes over the surface of C cells, they allow the virus to bind to certain receptors on human cells and hijack their functions, leading to C infection. Once the spike cuts into a patient's cells, the virus releases its own genetic material into the cell so it can replicate. We found that exposure to C spike protein alone was enough to change baseline gene expression in airway cells. In a media release, it says this suggests that symptoms seen in patients may initially result from spike protein interacting with the cells directly. It says spikes make long-term changes to human lung cells. So researchers examined how exposure to spike proteins impacts cultured human airway cells in lab experiments. They also compared the results to studies using cell samples from actual C patients. So yeah, they tried it obviously in like a petri dish or whatever, or something like that, with just the airway cells. So that was like the main place they were looking. But then how it impacts other things, that's I'm more likely than not they're going to be fishing for funding to kind of expand the research. So I don't think they looked into it yet. But then what? That's funny as hell, because it's like it's revealing that factor of it that it has gene altering properties, which then lets you when you look at the max, then you should be able to put two and two together and work out what's going on there. So it says what the team notes: culturing human airway cells requires time and specific conditions, which help the cells mature. This allows the lab cells to develop into different cells living in a human airway. To do this, study offers refined a culturing technique called air-liquid interface, so they could more closely simulate the conditions in actual patients' lungs. After culturing, scientists expose the cells to low and high concentrations of purified spike protein. The results reveal differences in gene expression which remained in the cells after the infection passed. The most affected genes include ones controlling the body's inflammatory response. Yeah. But hey, that's what's going down. So as far as when it comes to C19, it's having a genetic impact, is what it is. So then, as of that seems like a factor as to why this thing's been pushed out to such an extent it has, because it's what leading into that mark, that implantable chip that goes under the skin, preparing the way. Let me read this. Ezekiel 28:2. It says, "Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Most High Power, Behold, thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God, I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the seas. Yet thou art a man and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God." So yeah, that's these are the things that Esau's trying to gain. He's trying to cement himself as the Most High. He's trying to reinforce the ideal, the mindset of him being the Most High, which really it shows, how completely bugged this guy is. because he's trying to utilize his means that he's got on the earth to try and overtake the Most High, but it's your but you're just a man, and that's the thing, and the basis of men at that. So then, for you to be laboring in these things, you really don't know what the hell's going on. You really don't know what your role and purpose is. It says, "Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. With thy wisdom and with thine understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic, thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches." Yeah, so that wisdom that you've been given is let you, do certain things, let you push out certain agendas, getting in certain facets of your plans, but it's not going to be completely locked in. Before you're about to perfect it, cement it, as far as in your mind, it's all going to come to an end. It's going to come to a fiery end, and that's the thing, is these are the things that what Esau's he's been researching, his the wisdom he's been given. He's using it to try and satiate his God complex, man. Where he's trying to be the Most High, trying to outdo the Most High, which it ain't gonna be. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Power, because thou hast set thine heart as the heart of the Most High. Behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon thee, the terror of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy wisdom. And they shall defile thy brightness. Yeah, they shall bring you down to the sides of the pit, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Yeah, so judgment will catch you. And that's the thing, is Esau, because judgment has yet to be played out, has been emboldened further and further and further in, the madness, the wickedness he's doing. But then what? Yeah, he's gonna get caught. But yeah, it's it shows Esau, his plans as far as in the background, the things these elites are utilizing these events for. It's not just what's being pushed out there. The general sheeple are just like, oh, I just want to be going back to they just want to be going back to having fun. That's what they're thinking about. They're thinking, oh, when's shit gonna be open? When can I go on a holiday? All these different kinds of things. How can I keep myself entertained? But yeah, that's it. Lets you know the nature of the man we're dealing with, which is why you should be, Sirach 12 and 10. Anything Esau pushes out. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Yahweh Shem Yeshua, Shem Kakadash Bakatha. Shalom.